Isn't this tree absolutely magnificent? It is so delicate, so beautiful. Let's see if I can make this metaphor work. It's beautiful because of the sum of its parts, not its individual bits. Like filmmaking, you've got to get the whole thing right. It's quite a challenging thing to do with film, is that you have to... The first impressions are everything. It's like when I saw this tree, I thought, it's so beautiful, and I wanted to get closer to it, and I wanted to look at its exquisite detail in its branches. Same thing with film. You need to immediately capture your audience by the first half a minute by promising something that they don't want to miss. Now, I'm not going to do the entire course out here in the freezing cold. It's about -3 degrees. This is near my home in England. And I had to come out this morning because I was so inspired about doing this course for you, that I thought, well, let me come out and take some pictures of these beautiful creations and think about how I'm going to present this to you. The film was about an aircraft crash, as you know from the introduction, but something very special happened. It happened in 1994 in South Africa. Now, many of you will know about apartheid. 1994 was the year that it ended. It was the year that the white supremacy regime rule was done away with, and I was living in the country at the time, and it was a great celebration for everybody, whites included. I promise you that. And it was an amazing time. It was just a time of just such celebration that it was over, that this awful thing had finally come to an end. Part of it, that the international community was very, very welcoming to South Africa, And one of the things that happened was that the Royal Air Force invited the South African Air Force to bring one of their aircraft to the UK, because in England we have a fantastic summer air show season. Lots of air shows, huge following, millions of people love the air shows. They invited the South Africans to bring their newly restored aircraft to the United Kingdom to share in the festivities and fly in several air displays in the United Kingdom. What an amazing invitation! And the South African Air Force and South African Air Force Museum got together and they refurbished an aircraft, this incredible 4-engined maritime patrol aircraft, only ever flown by the Royal Air Force and the South African Air Force. Amazing, amazing airplane, one of the last highly complex propeller-driven airplanes, or piston-driven airplanes. But it crashed. It crashed in the desert. And I had known about the story and read a bit about the story, and then a friend of mine who actually helped me make the film, he gave me a tape cassette, and he played it for me, and it was the original radio communication voice recording of that fateful night when the aircraft was about to crash. And listening to the sounds of the crew was in a way chilling, even though they were very calm. It was amazing. And I realized there was an amazing story because of that one piece of pure, authentic evidence. And interestingly enough, that it was a soundtrack, because I believe that sound is actually more important than video. Sound creates more emotions than video. When you look at a film and watch a film, if you feel emotion, more often than not, it's the sound that is creating that emotion inside you, much more than the video. And again, this was a soundtrack. And I thought, there's a story here. Nobody's made a film about this. So I went to the Air Force and the Air Force Museum, and I applied, and they said no. And then I said to them, well, actually, what we're going to do is that any proceeds we're not going to keep the proceeds. The proceeds are going to go back into the museum to help keep the airplane, they rebuilt the airplane. They got, not the one that crashed, they actually built another one. Long story, you'll figure it out. You'll watch the film. Any funds from this project would go to help keeping that. And it did. Quite a bit of money actually went to the museum, and it contributed. It helped keep it flying for another 10 years. It was a small contribution, but it was a contribution. And the Air Force basically then said, oh, okay. So I knew that if I went there purely on a selfish goal, I want to make this film and it's for me, then they may very well say no. And I was right, actually. They did. They actually said no. When I explained my idea, in fact, it wasn't for me, it was for everybody. And the story needed to be told, and it needed to be told well. They said, yeah, okay. And then from that moment, I had amazing support from the South African Air Force Museum. Fantastic bunch of guys. And they did a really, really good job in helping me get access to the aircraft, get access to the story, get access to the crew. So that took a little bit of planning. So in this, the introduction to the course, if you're thinking about a project, think less of what you can get out of it and more about what the people, the story, can get out of it. So if you're doing something about a social problem, think about how this project can solve and help solve the social problem first. Because then when you go to people and you say, I want to make this film and I see this problem and I see this issue and I think I can help, you go there from a point of view of saying, okay, well, it's not for me. I want to do this because I feel for this, and this is how it's going to be broadcast, so this is how we're going to put it on YouTube, we're going to put it in Vimeo or whatever, social media or whatever, however it's going to be broadcast. That's the first line of your first strategy to getting a film and getting approval for a film, is that you should think about them more than yourself. So it's the first thing you should learn. That's what we did in this particular case, and it worked. It worked very, very well. In fact, they had rejected a major London production company that wanted to make the film. They had said no, interestingly enough, and they said yes to me. And I think that's why. I think the production company must have gone there and said, yeah, we'll make a whole lot of money from it. And they said, well, no, we're not going to make money out of this, Anyway, that was a great learning curve for me, and it worked well. The moment the doors opened, we then had access to the full story. I had access to the museum, I had access to all of the crew members. We interviewed them. You'll see those interviews. And as I gathered information, so storytelling, you need to start gathering information before you start shooting, because if you've got in your head this kind of holistic picture, this is what the film's going to look like, this is its basic structure, of course you change it later, you adjust it later, yes you do, but you need a basic thing in your head of how it might look, then you can start filming. And the interesting thing is that the first day's filming was actually 2 days, only 2 days after we'd been given the go-ahead. And the reason why it was 2 days and we had to shoot was that the crew, every year since the accident, have a reunion. And this was the first time the reunion had actually managed to gather everybody together in one place. And we were there. And they had chosen a magnificent location. I mean, you will learn during this course, I mentioned in the introduction, those eureka moments, those, what I like to call those moments where the God of cinema smiles on your efforts, when the light is perfect, when just things fall into place as if it was meant to be. And this happened on many occasions during this production. So, and I will point each one out and why we were so lucky. And there were others where things didn't work out so well, and actually at the end turned out to be a blessing in disguise. So rolling with the challenges is quite an important thing to do as well. So you'll not find me standing in an ice-cold field during this production. I'll be in my editing suite. I'll be in various places. I've got to see, I'm now actually figuring this out, because this is the second shot I've done for this course, and I'm actually thinking, where am I going to shoot it? How am I going to shoot it? And I need to go and take pictures of those trees over there, because the light is absolutely exquisite. I'm going to go and do that now. I hope you'll follow along with me. I'm very, very excited to tell you how I made this film, because even now, over 10 years later, it still sits in with me as the best storytelling work I've actually ever done. And I was going to say something else, but I can't remember. Those trees are just so beautiful. I have to go and photograph them. Oh, the other thing is we shot it in standard definition, so you'll see the video quality is not high definition. We shot it. This was shot, I think, in 2005, if I remember correctly. 2005, 2006. Okay, so we shot it on DV. I'll explain what cameras we use, so you'll see the quality isn't up to high definition standard. That's irrelevant at this point. This is about storytelling and not about the technical stuff. I hope you enjoy the rest of it with me.